Yo, what's up? This is Splendid right on Far Side TV. We got OG Justin Gay in the house, Mr.
Oh,
Seeds of Xanadu. Uh
peace.
somebody I hold very dear to my heart, man. For real.
Oh man, appreciate
and
you,
I'm
man.
and so it's a funny story how I ended up meeting you. So you were at the Long Beach Farmers Market.
Yes, sir.
Um but it was different. It was bigger, and I think they had shifted it another way because they
Yeah,
used to
they
have
did
clothes.
rebrand it. Yep.
Yeah, they used to have clothes and stuff there. So I would just go up there to just kind of move around and feel like I was doing something healthy or whatever. And at the time, you were selling like I want to say wheatgrass shots or some type of
It was
shots.
June. Yeah, we had wheatgrass then too. Yeah. We had a whole thing then. Yeah.
And so uh a microgreen was so foreign to me, man. Like, I mean, and when
Mm.
I say foreign, I mean like I probably never even heard of it before. And you had a little youngster with you that was working with you, and I had stopped, and then you came over and you were giving out samples, and I want to say it was the garlic chives. You were like, you
Yep.
might have saw me a little curious or interested, or the youngster saw me curious and interested. They said, well, what do you like to taste? And I was like, well, I don't know. And then somebody said garlic, and somehow garlic chive got into it, and I just
Okay.
got a little pinch of it, and I was like, all right, this is something new. And
Okay.
then I probably didn't come back for a while, didn't see you for a while. And then just somehow you came up in a conversation with Jose Gerardo.
Oh, what?
And
Okay.
he was like, "Oh man, my boy Justin." He's like, "Yeah, dude, he's do 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 do." And I was like, "Yeah, dude." I was like, "I see him at the farmers market." So then you inspired me to get a juicer unknowingly, because we weren't even cool. Like, we was just literally, I would just walk past your booth or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's crazy how the world works. So it went from me passing by a booth, sampling some wheatgrass or some type of juice shot you had or whatever,
Yeah.
to you giving me a sample of tasting. And I said I like spicy, I think, or something. But anyway, I ended up with the garlic chive. That was the first one. And then that whole thing graduated to me getting on a weight loss journey. And
Okay, man.
you were my shaman. Like I
Hey,
literally took the microgreens and I was like, okay, I'm gonna just make up my own diet. I'm an
that's
intermittent
right.
fast, and then when I break fast at about 1 o'clock, I'm gonna have protein and microgreens, and then I'm gonna eat whatever I want to eat for dinner, but I'm gonna chill off of sugar. And dude,
Mm.
I lost literally in three, and I had a protein shake in the morning. But literally in 3 months, I went, and I'll call the numbers because it was that real. I was like two, I was almost 280, and I came down to like 247 in
Okay, okay, man.
3 months. And
Yeah.
that's why I just always say, like, man, I owe you so much, because that was
Ah, man.
Otis.
He trying to get me
Otis,
out.
yeah, we got a
Thanks, man.
question about Otis. We're gonna get to that.
Yeah.
So that ended up evolving to me just feeling like, well, okay, man, I'm gonna get on these microgreens. And then you kind of became a homeboy. You know what I'm saying? Where I
Okay,
could
that's
just
right.
talk to you. And it's so funny because
These two.
I've learned to respect the hustle, because I'll be like, man, when I hit the Cerritos Farmers Market and I see you, I'll say, oh man, I'm gonna come and chop it up with Justin. And then I'll say, well, damn, people are lined up, man. He need to get his bread. I'll spin the corner. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
I'll spin the corner and I'll come back and we can talk about and build how we build. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, dude, I truly, I hold you dear to the heart, man.
Appreciate that, man.
You
Appreciate you.
definitely.
Thank
And
you.
then the other part of it, because I'm just a capitalist to the heart. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yes.
just the way I think. So even when I came to you with my idea, and that's the part, you are not stingy with the game. That's the other
No,
part.
man.
So I
No,
was
no,
like,
no.
oh man, I'll make this lemonade. I was like, man, I want to come to the farmer's market and woo woo. And see, in my mind, I was just thinking capitalistic gain and like that part. But like
Right.
you married to it, man. It's just a whole nother,
Yeah,
it's a
man.
whole
No,
other thing. But you
yeah.
gave me the route if I wanted to get into it. But then I got so much stuff going that I was just like,
Right.
oh man, I'm gonna just
Wow.
leave this. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'm gonna leave this to whoever. But anyway, we're gonna get into that part. But before we get into that, I'm gonna build up to like to who you are, and we'll get into that other part. So, what city are you from?
Man, I'm in Fontana, man. I mean, originally where I'm from is I guess Los Angeles, but the other way of West Covina.
Okay.
Um, that's Walnut. Mostly it was Walnut, really, man. But I just said West Covina because don't nobody really know what Walnut's at,
Oh
man.
man, I used
Okay.
to, I used to drive out to Fontana back. Well, I had cousins that was out there. They raised race horses, so
Okay, yeah, man.
the harness horses. So I was going out to Fontana when it was just really farmland. You know what I'm saying?
Word. Yep.
It was farmland, and it was
Yep.
them people that wear them white hoods like that. And it was no buildings
That's real shit. Yeah.
around back
Yeah.
then.
No, man, there was clan all up in here, man. But all up in San Bernardino though, man.
Yeah, that was probably about like 78, 79 when I was coming out there. My cousins
Okay.
was telling me how hard it was, you know
Yeah,
what I'm
man.
saying? And then
Yeah.
probably around 87, 88, I would come out there and meet up with one of my partners from south of the border on his lunch break. And I and
That's
I
right.
and I was coming out there to get my
Yeah.
little thing on, you know what I'm saying? And so
Right.
yeah, I was on that 10, man. I was on that 10 strong, man, going out there and doing the thing. But yeah, Fontana. So your favorite hip hop movie?
Movie?
Yep.
Dang. Uh, recent or
Nope. 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 Nope.
it, does,
Yep.
it don't matter.
Yep.
Dang, man.
Doing the thing, but
What could it be, man? There's so many, man. Um, you know what, man? It's funny. I'm gonna say this one just because I know a lot of people are gonna give me flack for it. And so I'm gonna go ahead and say it, man. I don't give a damn, man. Um, and the only reason I say this is because it popped up in my Instagram feed the other day. And I remember thinking as a kid, man, I was a kid of the 80s, you know what I mean? But I was a kid when hip hop really took its took its effect. So man, I was into the whole thing. You know what I mean? It was a little bit more bubblegummy. And while I watch it, I can understand why people call it this shit, man.
I know what you're
But
gonna say. I think I
but
know.
breaking, man, I was
I
on
knew it.
breaking. Love that shit, man. Turbo in my old love,
Nah,
man. I love
it
that
was the
shit.
slapstick version,
It's the
like
slapstick surgery, man.
which I say breaking gave birth to disorderlies, like
Word.
with the fat boys and all that.
You know what though? Even though a little bit more to it, man, I was able to recognize the spots. You know
Okay.
what I mean? Like they was down like in Elysian Park.
Yep.
Um, they was down like in LA, man. And that's
Yep.
when I was, especially around that time I was a kid. So, when I seen it, I was like, oh, it's so, so yeah, man. But I was just like the other day, man, something I remember coming up and people just giving that movie hell. And I'm like, you know what, man? That movie's tight. I don't give a damn fool. So, Turbo Ozone. Yeah, we go from there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah. That I
Electric
always
Boogaloo.
say Beach Street was my heart.
Okay. Almost said B Street. Almost said B Street.
It was my heart, but Ice T used to come next door to my house when I was in junior high school, and like he was before he started rapping, he was fly. Like he had the red Porsche 911, convertible,
Yes. Yes.
and that was
Yep.
he might as well have had a Bentley when nobody else had Bentleys like that.
Right.
Like it was like a 911 convertible sporting the Neiman Marcus hats
Yep.
when you wouldn't even thought of bootleg. They could have been bootleg, but I know at the time he was sporting them. Neiman Marcus hats was probably about like 400, $500 when with the way the dollar was back then, you might as well say he was wearing a $700 hat. You know what I'm
For
saying?
real. Yeah,
In
man.
today's time. So
Yeah.
yeah, but nah, breaking
You
was
think
my
I
thing.
forgot the power cover, man? Come on, man. Man, come on. I was heavy on that, man. I was heavy on that, man. Was
Nah,
that Darlene? Come on, man. I was heavy on that, man. I
nah,
knew about
dope.
you.
So tell me this: what was the first hip hop song you connected with?
Connected. You know what, man? Connect. Dang. That go. I mean, I remember going through. Shoot, man. You say B Street, man, but it was what the first song. I still got the verse to that shit, man. The B Street. I think it was probably
Okay.
B Street. That whole B Street, the king of the beat. I said you're rocking
Yeah.
that beat across the street. Yeah, that was my shit. I would walk through school. I was like in the third, fourth grade, maybe. I had to be in the fourth grade because I was still in like little Christian school. And I'd be going around the whole school just kicking that, man. But it was always that LL, man. I was always rapping something, man. Yeah, man. Yeah. So I was always, and then shit, then in WA and all that kind of junk just hit me hard in the head, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Um, so I am this little suburb kid, man, and PE and all them and the ex-client, man, shit. Come on, man. I can keep on. It just spirals from there. But
Yeah. I was the show.
okay, okay, man.
Show. That was the first one that I can just remember on
Yeah,
repeat.
right,
Now, Rapper's Delight, of course, that connected with the chicken tasting like wood and all that.
right.
But um yeah, the show I can just remember playing it over and over and over and over and just being
Okay.
just mystified by Dougie
Yeah,
Fresh just beatboxing and just all that. But
yeah. Well,
you know,
probably then, man, if I had to say one that I kept on repeat, man, at a young age, it'd probably be on Bad, man. Yeah, probably.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you something funny about that. So my cousin Sean, rest in peace. As a matter of fact, he lived in Stevenson Village in Carson,
Okay.
and Forrest Whitaker and his brother Damon lived in the house behind them.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, man.
and I remember my cousin was Sean was 2 years older, and I was so fascinated with Cool J. I was like, well, what does Earl do? And then my cousin was like, Earl rolls the weed.
Yeah. That was
Yeah,
funny. That's
yeah. And
funny.
I was
Yeah,
like,
get Earl,
damn.
man. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, and you know
Earl,
what?
man.
Back then in hip hop, it
Oh
was so
shit.
special without the social media and all that and those cheat codes. You had to get the right on magazines and
Yeah.
MTV heavy and whatnot. But back then, you cared about the artist, his clique, his crew. You connected
Yeah.
the liner notes of albums and CDs. You know what I'm saying? It was
It
like,
was dope.
as a matter of fact, one of my rituals every weekend I'll listen to an album in its entirety. I just make myself do
Okay.
it because I feel like, and this is, and not to sound like an old fogey or whatever, but I feel like people from the capitalistic side of hip hop, uh, people don't have the patience and their ears aren't trained to listen to albums anymore. They just want
Yeah, man.
that quick dopamine, just that quick little 2 minute, 3 minute whoop whoop, and then that's enough. Where I
1 minute.
feel like almost like an ancient language. Like you can't
Mm-hmm.
forget how to listen to an album. Like
Yeah, man.
there's
But from
definitely
cover to cover, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, there's definitely some value in listening to albums. So right now, what medium do you use to try to find new music?
Right now, man, I guess mostly shit, man. I'm not even really been going hard on music, man, like I used to, man. Real talk, man. But I guess probably now it'd probably just be whatever, man. Like what's that, Spotify?
Okay.
It's going, man. Yeah, Spotify, man. I just dial up whatever I need to dial up in that, and I just kind of go from there, man.
I
Yeah.
have not got. I'm so dude. I'm so analog.
Yeah.
I listen to
Who you still listening
E40.
to?
I listen to E40 house music with a shot glass of reggae off up in it, and but I don't. I'm not on. Like I'll go through Brown Spotify and the little playlist and things that he may have music connected to, but
Yeah.
really YouTube
Okay, you.
and just like IG, I guess, seeing little clippets and snippets
Yeah.
here, there, and I'll let that point me in a direction. And then,
Yeah, those are true. Yeah.
yeah, and then I'll just follow with that. So when you were in junior high school, what was the soundtrack to your experience? Like what was going on? Like what song or songs do you think of when you think back to junior high?
And junior high was that was like probably I'm gonna say probably like I want to say X Clan. Was that junior high? NWA was definitely in there. Easy E. I had a whole gangster rap phase, man. I don't I went through the whole thing. If you want to call it gangster, I mean shit, at that time it was just hip. I mean, it was underground hip hop, really, West Coast underground hip hop, as far as I knew, until
Yeah.
Far Side hit. That's when everything was like, oh shit for me. You know what I mean? Like, so I guess for identification, it
Uh-huh.
was probably Far Side, man. Yeah, it was probably that one gave me a more of a I was able to identify with the people on the
So
screen. You know what
so
I mean?
that's
But yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Like my junior high school experience, because I come from I mean I after 1975 we moved from Compton in 75 to Harbor City. And so and I still live in Harbor City. Like and they've
Yeah,
been able to shake me. But
yeah, you still.
it was like the culture and community here was so intertwined that we had punks, we had heavy metal
Mm,
kids, we had the hip hop kids, we had the gangster rap, we had all
yeah,
of that. So like
yeah,
my thing when I was in junior high school was everything from like Exploited, GBH, The Descendants, Bad Brains, like straight punk rock. And then there was the mixture of some ska, the Specials, Selector, Untouchables, like all that kind of stuff. And
okay,
then hip hop was probably about 25% of my recipe.
dang, okay,
Like up until maybe high school. It was
wow,
just like part of the mix. I
funny.
knew all the popular stuff, but I wasn't
Yeah,
really like seeking anything. Like I wasn't like how now you'll find an artist or you'll kind of like run down a rabbit hole or whatever. Like
yeah,
my influence was pretty much just like punk rock and ska and all that. And then I evolved like into like I really started leaning towards hip hop in high school. You know what
that's
I'm
what. Okay,
saying? That I will say
interesting.
that, yeah, that was that.
Yeah. See what you just said. All right, so junior high, man, it was hip hop heavy. You had to be hip hop, man. It was your into your raps. You couldn't talk to me about it. We wasn't talking. But before that, man, it was heavy metal, man. It was probably like a lot of heavy metal because I grew up in I was like the only like black kid, quote unquote, on the street. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, man, it was a lot of oldies playing. It was a lot of like metal. I remember the cat, they was the homies, man, but they would give me a hard time because in my house we had the soul, man. That's like a lot of that was going on. But out there, I was catching new wave. I was catching, man,
Yep.
all kind of that's when the big hair bands was out too. I mean, to
Yep.
this day, I'm still on that shit heavy. I still go hard on with the classic rock, now they call it, I guess, man. I still go hard on that shit, man.
Oh man, it's funny. I think I heard Brown refer to it speaking of one of his daughters, and it made me feel so old. And in the phrase that he repeated to me that it was coined was yacht rock, and
The
then
dot rock.
no yacht rock,
Oh, yeah, man, yacht rock. That's what they
which I
call it.
guess kind of like the
That's what
Steely
they call it.
Dan's and like
Yes.
that kind of stuff
Love it.
falls into it. And I'm like,
Love it, man. Love
damn,
that.
I'm old, but yacht rock is kind of dope.
That dog's ill. That's my illest stuff. See, that stuff was that's when my mom would pick me up from like preschool, man, kindergarten. Homie, Steely Dan was playing in the back. You understand? So that was that man. I
Hey,
remember, I remember, man. I remember looking for that sound, man, as I got older and not knowing what it was. And then all of a sudden, Steely Dan came on. I was like, "What?" And so that's them. And I was like, "Man, ever since then, because I didn't know it was just on as a kid."
I didn't
But
catch
yeah,
it. I didn't catch that stuff as a child. and I kind of felt it was
Okay.
corny, and I associated it with
Yeah.
old people. You know what I'm saying? And
I hung out with a lot of old people, man. I'm an only child, man. I hung out
oh,
with a lot
okay,
of old people, man. Yeah. So yeah, that was my job.
yeah.
Yep.
And so then when I got probably around high school, later high school, coming into 90, DJing a little bit,
Okay.
heavy on searching for loops and samples, I was kind of like, okay, okay.
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
would say, I remember I was working at Abercrombie and Fitch in 93. I was working at Abercrombie and
Fat
Fitch,
jobs.
and I remembered I got my first crate of records,
Okay.
and Steve, it was a couple Steely Dan albums in there, man. And I just remember listening to all that and just being like,
Yeah, man.
and it was crazy because it's like those dudes were dope writers,
Yeah.
singers, and
Yeah,
then the
man.
cheat code is that when they would record albums, they would just
Hmm.
have the dopest musicians fall through the studio, which George Clinton
Um,
used that combination also,
yeah.
where like
The
they're
studio
just
player.
kind of like where even when I kind of witnessed it in a way when the Far Side was recording um I'll say recording Lab Cabin more than anything, and being at this studio called Hollywood Sound, where the
Okay.
Chili
Yeah.
Peppers they recorded the album there, and it was interesting because the so they had like I want to say well they had one big room that was like the big room, and then they had another room that had the stuff that was in the big room, but a little bit smaller. Then they had like
Hmm.
the pre-productions, but in the studio that was like not the biggest, but the one like right up underneath the biggest. I remember walking in there, and the Chili Peppers were recording, and we just needed to get in for a session. And I want to say I was probably with Brown, and Flea had a case, and he had left his gear there because they were recording. It was just like they the studio let us come in for a couple hours to do whatever. But I just remember seeing a case that had about 8 guitars just like sitting up in it, and then 2 duffel bags of pedals. And I just remember just being in awe, like,
Yeah.
damn. And then I remember, I went to Brown and I asked him, I was like, what does it take to make an album sound like a funkadelic album, or just what?
Mm.
And he was like, oh, and he kind of gave me like the short answer. It was something like, well, there's a lot of compressors and stuff like that, because without knowing, you just think when a person makes an album, it's just a guitar player or just somebody coming, and then you record music, and then that just makes this great thing.
Yeah,
But
man.
with that experience, dude, it's the board that makes the difference. It's the compressors that make the difference. It's the distortions. It's all the preamps, and like the way that you feel when you hear like Bernie Worrell playing like funkadelic, like Flashlight and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
You just can't do it with some keyboards and a mixing board and just whatever. There is a mathematical science behind the sonics that bring that about.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, there's a lot, man, that goes on to making music, man. I mean, all that stuff you just mentioned, man, that's all key, man. All the components you gotta go through to everything, man. Everything colors everything, you know. So each one, when you run into different compressors, you're gonna different coloration there. When you run into different boards, you're gonna get different. Like cats would be riding that Neve for the longest time, man. Um, for the longest time, just mainly for that sound, man. But you know what I'm saying? And of course, I mean, engineers was back there. That was one, but they would call them motherfucker, sorry, man, flying faders, man. Yeah, that was
Oh,
my,
okay.
man, that was an engineer days. You bring me back into that now. But no, everything was, man, yeah, I remember just thinking like when cats would come in just as an engineer on that side, and then even then as I moved into movies, thinking in my, like what microphone, like speaking with whoever I'm talking to, especially like more so when it got down to acting or movie side, speaking with the actors at first and then trying to figure out what mic that I had in my arsenal that would best suit that voice. This time it was more for cleanliness. When I was in the studio, though, I was trying to get you that warmth. That was my thing. That warmth. I was trying to most people nowadays on them tapes, man, but we was back on trying to make everything sound more like records. You know what I'm saying? Get
Okay.
that warmth of a record, especially off of a CD, man, because you can get still my opinion, man, probably the best form that you could ever put or deliver music on is a CD. But you was able to get that, that the clarity of a CD, but still with them analog boards, man,
The
get that
soul.
crisp. Yeah,
Analog is
that
the soul,
soul.
man.
But
It's
then
the
you was able
soul.
to drive it with just that clarity of the CD, bro. And it was like, woo, that junk, yeah, that still to this day can raise the hair on my arms, man. But yeah, trying to get that soul locked in, man. It was about 300 hertz, man. Yeah, man, I was playing with all that mess, man. That was my
Nah. And
longest time.
see, that's the whole thing. We gonna get into the meat and taters of the conversation, but I had to inject some hip hop into the
Hey, yeah, man.
conversation because that's
Yeah.
just that's like really the common denominator, one of the common denominators of the podcast. Your senior year in high school, you're a
Mhm.
senior, you're about to graduate. What did you think your path was going to be?
Bruh, I was not clear at all what my path was gonna be. Maybe I knew I was gonna be successful. That was always my thing, I knew I was gonna be self-employed, even though I was working for people. I know, and I didn't really know how I was going to do anything, man.
Okay.
I was always, man, I don't know, man. In high school, man, I mean, at that point in time, I had my girlfriend, became my baby mama, all that junk. So my head was all over the place, man. I was not that cat that was. I just knew everything. I still kind of ride with the same vibe, really. You know what
Okay.
I mean? Like I always know everything's gonna work out. You know what I mean? Everything's gonna be cool for me, man. The lanes. I was always kind of that kind of cat. More so back then, like to where I didn't even question shit. It was just like whatever, man. You know what I mean? So I never really.
I was um I was a professional junior college attendee. You know what I'm saying? I went to
Okay.
Harvard College to death, and then went over to El Camino. Thought I'd change up the
Okay.
environment, and it was crazy.
Yeah.
So El Camino, Razcast went to. He was real close with my cousin, my first
Okay.
cousin Terrence. But my El Camino crew, it was myself, Razcast, and then this artist who was very talented, who was my homeboy's cousin by name. His name Raphael Cooper was his name. But yeah, we all went to El Camino, and it was just like a kind of like creatives trying to find our way. And it's crazy because when I was in
Yeah,
my
man.
senior year of high school, um, I really didn't get into high school because I just wasn't passionate about any of that stuff. I wasn't a dummy. I just had I had no drive. It like
My
didn't
thing.
interest me at all, other than
Yeah.
the social aspect of it. But it didn't interest me. And I remember my my counselor told me, she said, you know what? You need to go to a trade school. Junior high school is going to be a waste. I mean, not junior high school, but junior college is going to be a waste of
Right.
time for you. And I remember
Right.
being so offended at that, man. I was so mad. I was like, is she calling me a dummy or just whatever?
Right.
But the funny part about it is she probably saw who I was. And then I
Right.
was so immature that I couldn't take it as really her giving me a cheat code. Like, dude, you need to bypass junior college and kind of, do whatever. But I found my way
Mhm.
as an entrepreneur because that was always my thing. Like I first started out, there was this dude who lived in our neighborhood and we called him Snake Man. He would like fight snakes. He'd fight the rattlesnake and the gopher snake. He'd get
Okay. Yeah. That guy.
scorpions and like he was just the most nature guy in the world.
Like
You
my
know what I'm
best
saying?
friend. Yep. Yeah,
Matter of
man.
fact, they called him Nature Boy. I think Nature Boy is what they called him. Anyway,
Okay. Yeah.
so he took me to the mall one time. Well, we called the bus to the mall, and he went to go and get some rats for his snakes.
Okay.
And while I was in the pet store, somehow a hamster caught my eye,
Okay.
and um I had asked my mother, and she was like, "Nah, you can't have no rats." You know what I'm saying? She's like, and I was like, "It's a hamster." She's like, "Nah, you can't have no rats. Like, we're not gonna do that." But
Yeah.
my homeboy was like, if you breed the hamsters, you can sell them back to the pet shop. And I think the gestation period was like 30 days. It was something really short. And I
Mhm.
was like, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
got
Yeah.
some hamsters, I bred them, went to the pet shop, started selling hamsters. So
Okay.
from hamsters, I graduated to dwarf blue bunnies.
Damn.
And
Okay.
so I bred those for a minute. And rabbits, they got the fast gestation period, and boy, they'll keep it, they'll keep it
Yep.
going. And
Keep it going
then
quick.
I realized, in order to sell something and really get the maximum out of your being a capitalist, you got to have something that's dope, but everybody else doesn't have it. So then I
Hmm.
got into these real huge lop-eared bunnies, but
Okay.
the twist with those, they had big teeth too. And the
Okay.
older
Okay.
ones, they were like, they it was. I wasn't trying to mess with a pet that would bite me. And then I
Right.
evolved into dogs. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I evolved into dogs. So I say all that to say, um, through capitalism, through love of pets, uh, me messing with the genetics from a young age, figuring out where I bred dogs up until maybe about 6, 7 years ago. And
Hmm.
man, yeah, I won't get into that. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, so now we're gonna get in to one of the things that you do. Like, like I said, when I first met you, I was passing by the booth. You had some microgreens. I never even heard of them, didn't know what they were. Um, the spiciness of the garlic chive, and I think one of your sales pitches like, "Oh man, you could have it on some eggs." So I got the garlic chives, and then the laziness in me was kind of like, dang, if microgreens have more of the protein and minerals and vitamins and all that,
Yeah, man. Yeah.
and you don't have to eat that much of them, and they don't taste super crazy. I
Right.
was like, man, I could get so much out of these microgreens, and I'm not having to eat a bunch of lettuce. I really don't like lettuce. I mean, I'll eat it mixed in with microgreens or mixed in with something. But to
Mhm.
me, lettuce is just, unless you drowned it in uh, salad
So,
dressing or whatever, which, you know, the other part of my weight loss journey, I hooked up with homeboy that sells the avocado oils, and
okay. Yeah, man.
I got the vinaigrettes from him. I started getting the peach vinaigrettes and the raspberry vinegar and
Okay.
all that. And so the farmer's market kind of became like the place for me to not feel so guilty with everything I was throwing in my body. But
Right.
I wanted to give you your props because the cool part about it, not only did you give me, as well as others, like I said, I'll go up to the farmer's market at any point in time and I'll see people lined up. And I'm like, you know what? He's
Hmm.
my homeboy. Let somebody else spend their money and get their shaman, they dose of the shaman on, and I'll just loop around
Ah.
and come back, come back and give you some dap. So
Yeah, man.
what made you say micro? And I know you grow so many other things other than microgreens, but what made you say? And man, I sound like a Christian on fire. You know what I'm saying? Because microgreens saved my life, man. And I'm about to get back on my program. But what made you say, I'm gonna grow a microgreen and I'm gonna go to a farmer's market and sell it?
Oh, microgreens, man, it was just a gateway crop, man. It was a way for me to be able to grow a lot of different things in a really small space. And it was just that easy, man. I love growing stuff, man. And so that's all I wanted to do is just grow. My mom, man, at an early age had instilled in me to do what you love type vibe.
Mm-hmm.
A lot later on, I kind of adopted, do at least what you like, and then you can move from there. Um, I had to understand what love was, man, in order for me to really lock in on a lot of stuff. And then so, but that was always my mentality. So it was like, all right, well, I can't grow with all these cats. These cats got all these carrots, they got all this cabbage, they got all this broccoli, they got all this, man. But I can't do that because I don't have the space. And but
Mhm.
with the microgreen, homie, with that tray, I got you. I got all the broccoli you got. I got all the cabbage you got and more. I got all the radish you got and more. I got everything you got. I got it all. And so that was just my mentality. It's like, let's just go out. Now I got my farm
Mhm.
and it's only, in a really small space, but I got my farm. And that's what it was. And then, it just kind of, went crazy from there as things do.
So it was the economics and in the space of it.
Space, man.
But what? So microgreens hasn't always been popping the way it is now. So how
Yeah.
were you getting people to buy microgreens when you first started doing
Just tasting, man. Just tasting it. Like I mean, a lot of cats, they always come to me about health. But to be 100 with you, man, I think the reason I probably could relate to a lot of people, man, because to me it was never really about health. It was about flavor. It was
it? Mhm.
about food. Um, During sound, like as an engineer, man, I was blessed to go pretty much all the way around the world eating like Michelin star chef type vibes.
Mhm.
And I just had this conversation today. I remember I was in the shoot. I was in a shoot on a shoot in Louisiana, and I discovered alligator something or other, man. I can't remember what the hell these things are, man. But it was the alligator people, man. And these cats to be the cats out there catching them alligators. But aside from all that, they lived in the bayou. But they had, man, their backyard was Michelin star. Like they had all the best of everything in their backyard. You know what I'm saying? They just had to
Mhm.
go out and catch it. And around that time is when I was gardening. I was like, yo, I still got that. I got that vibe right there. I could just grow whatever I want and it'd be the best tasting thing ever. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, it just was like that. I always knew like, you grew your vegetables, of course, is going to be better for you, because you're getting more flavor. I mean, my grandparents is from, Texas and all that, man. So, we had greens, man. Growing up in Los Angeles, when I was there, I can't say I grew up like that. Didn't really go to school there, but I was there a
Mhm.
lot. We would pull up. My granddad would have chickens in the back, and like the cat down around the corner would have collard greens, like a big collard green tree. People around the way would have like uh rabbit hutches, man, and they would barter. I didn't know that's what they was doing, but that's what they was doing. And so yeah, man, it just kind of yeah, it just
You
yeah.
know, I remember we had cousins off of Greenleaf, and it's so crazy because Brown has family that's over there too. And I don't know if they were there when I was there, but like I had like two uncles that lived in the Greenleaf, off the Greenleaf area and all that over in Compton, which,
Okay,
it was kind of before things got funky. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? It was back
yeah,
when Compton was somewhat prestigious,
yep,
nice, working class, families lived there. Um, Before a lot of people made their exodus to the IE and San Bernardino and all that. But on Greenleaf, how they had that long strip, they used to grow collard greens there,
all
and
down the road, man.
people could just go and pick them.
Yeah, man.
Like,
Yeah.
well, I don't know. Well, yeah, I think, but I don't know if you were supposed to pay or not pay or whatever. I know my people used to go over there, and that's where,
So take them people, take them people greens, man.
yeah, because it was, it was like on that big long, like a long strip, like a super long strip. But
Yeah,
so I know you tried to grow different things, and I'll tell you the one thing that you've grown that um I'm sure there was a level of difficulty to it that was different than microgreens because you no longer do it. But I miss you growing mushrooms. I
ah,
miss
man,
you
the mushroom.
selfishly. I selfishly miss it because I don't know what their life is or how that works. But I know a couple of times you hooked me up like double up, triple up on some mushrooms, man. And I was
Yeah,
like,
man.
dang. I was like, and I mean, you know, and not magic mushrooms. I'm talking
Yeah, yeah.
about the
Oyster
culture.
mushrooms, man.
Yeah, we're talking
That's
about,
oyster.
yeah, we're not talking anything magic or nothing
Yes,
like that. The only thing it do is make your
sir.
belly feel good. You
You
know what
know
I'm
what I'm saying?
saying?
Make you feel good, man. Yeah. Yeah,
So
man.
so I know you did the mushrooms. I know you messed with the quails for a little bit and whatnot. And so with you growing things, what would you say is the easiest thing that you've grown and then the most difficult thing that you've attempted to grow.
Man, I'm gonna be 100 with you, man. It's not until I start getting to really, really exotic stuff that I know I'm not supposed to be growing that I really have any kind of trouble, man. I feel like I could grow anything, man. Yeah. Uh, the easiest thing, probably a radish, to be 100 with you. That's gonna be the easiest thing ever to grow, man, is a radish. Anybody starts off, I tell them, yeah, man, go throw some radishes out there. I've messed with Dude, right now I'm messing with bees, man. So
Oh
that's been pretty cool.
man.
Yeah, that's been crazy, man. But you know what, man? Them Johns, they teach you how to be Zen, man. They brought a whole new level of calm to your boy, man. I'm like, dang.
This dude
Yeah,
said, "Bees,
man,
how
you got
many
a whole
times you
new
been
level of
stung?"
calm. I ain't been stung yet, knock on wood, man. Knock on wood. I'm suited
Damn.
up, man. I'm out there suited up, man. I'm out there suited up. I don't go out there
Okay.
messing. I mean, eventually I'm gonna get stung because
And Otis?
Nah, I don't kick Otis out there because it's not at this plot. I got
Okay,
another
okay,
another
okay.
satellite plot
All
because
right. So that's
Otis,
yeah.
yeah,
There's a layer of safety
it's a
in
layer
the
of
whole
safety,
mix.
man. Yeah, no, no, no. I don't take them out there, man. With that, I was looking up the other day, man. I was like, man, you might be cool because the bees is cool, but then Otis, he be wanting to run because it's a big space, and
Hmm.
so I'm like,
You might stir them up. You
yeah,
wouldn't
stir
want
him up.
that swarm.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, man, I'm like, hey, we running up out of here, man. So nah,
Oh
I
man.
this at home, man.
Okay. So the bees, and then so with the mushrooms, what kind of happened with that?
You know what, man? It just didn't intertwine with what it is that I had going on.
Okay.
And then later on, I learned like one of my other partners taught me. He was like, "Oh, you could have used it with this." So my biggest thing is with growing the microgreens. The byproduct is actually the microgreen soil, right? And so
Hmm.
I got a lot of trash cans. At that time, I had trash bags, these big white bags that we
Hmm.
would put the soil in and we would compost them. And then we still do. I use trash cans now and then put them on the plot.
Okay.
And with the at the time of me doing the mushrooms, it was mostly just doing it with wood, like
Hmm.
sawdust, which was cool, but I was just accumulating way too much. And I was like, I
Okay.
can't really get rid of it fast enough.
The
And
way
then
that
I was
it was growing faster than you can get rid of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then I had all the microgreen stuff. Like, man, Justin from Long Beach Mushrooms, man, he's right next to me at the other market now. I tell him all the time, man, like, dude, it's like it was either microgreens. Had I not started with microgreens and started with mushrooms, I would have still stuck with mushrooms
Okay.
and not the microgreens, man. But yeah, because mushrooms, man, that's probably one of the funnest things you ever going to grow in your life, man. I would say Mushrooms and cannabis are two of the funnest things I've ever grown in my life. Mushrooms, though, is like you growing a pet. You almost go back there and talk. It's the weirdest thing. It's like you growing an animal almost. I don't want to sound nasty, but it's like yeah. To me, it's just I don't know, man. It's
So
like a whole.
your homeboy that has the mushrooms by you. Now
Mm.
that's over in Long Beach, huh?
Yeah, yeah, Long Beach, Long
So
Beach
I
mushroom.
bought a shame on me. I bought a kit from them.
Okay, nah, man, that's good for you, man.
I never used it. I
You still
never.
got it?
You know what? I threw it away because I just had it forever.
Oh, damn.
I took it
I mean,
to.
them things will be surprised, man. Sometimes depending on which one you get,
Uh-huh.
you'd be surprised, man. Sometimes them things will, and how long it is too.
Yeah,
Them
yeah,
things
yeah.
will come.
So the oil. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I remember you getting that thing.
the oyster.
Now you
Yeah, I
tell
want to say there was like maybe pink oysters or some type of
okay,
oyster mushroom, and I was just like,
yeah,
because for me, mushrooms will take on the flavor of whatever you're cooking them with. And so
yeah,
you
man.
can take some garlic and slice it up real thin and saute your mushrooms. And then when I go super unhealthy, I just gravy them down.
Check
I
it on
gravy
it.
them down and smother up some type of chop I'm not supposed to be eating or some chicken.
Hey, man. I mean, man, but real spit, man, like I used to make, I still do the mushrooms, man. I make you mushrooms, man. Taste like Kentucky Fried Chicken. Taste that on KFC. I used to have
Okay.
my vegan homies mad at me, man. I would make them up some of them beans, man. What them beans, man? either some kidney beans, not kidney beans, man. Either kidney or just some bigger beans, man. But
Hmm.
I would make them smoked, like I would smoke them and then throw the mushrooms up in there. Them cats thought they was eating chicken, man. They was so excited, like they they get mad at me off top. You know, they like, you
Oh
got me
wow.
here to eat meat, man, blah blah. I was like, I promise you ain't no meat, man. Promise you ain't no meat in this whole thing, man. I promise you. And then, I show them the whole mushrooms, man. But yeah, man. Yeah, you can get loose of mushrooms, dude. There's a lot you can do with them. A
And
lot.
then also, I want to thank you because you, like I said, you've never gatekeep the knowledge.
Nah, man.
I was like, man, I want to get a juicer, and I wanted you to kind of point me in a direction, and then you pointed me in the direction. The one you told me to get, that my passion level wasn't there yet, and I just
Yeah.
couldn't justify spending the money.
Or yeah.
And I searched it, which I probably, with all the money I've spent on these little $300 and $400 juicers, I probably should have just
Mhm.
got that from junk, because
Probably.
it was like maybe like 2,000 or so. You could get a used one. A used one I think was maybe like 1,300, but the presses, the
Yeah, the
press
normal.
ones that
Yeah.
yeah, literally it presses the juice and whatnot. But now I have a Kuvik. I want to say a Kuvik or whatnot.
Something like that. Okay.
It's a it goes around. It's kind of like the press thing, but it kind of has
It's an
this
auger.
thing,
Got an
huh?
auger. Like an auger. The augers.
But it's so it
So it
has
does it the presses.
it.
It's like a big it's like a big screw in there and it presses everything. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like auger. Yeah, auger style.
but
It's still pressing.
well, that the reason why I like that versus the juicers that I had that just had the cheese grater
Centrifugal.
type thing or
Yeah.
whatever. So the cheese grater type thing, it really gets hot. So it's heating the
Yep.
juice up. And then also it wasted a lot of the fiber. So you got a whole
Yeah.
bunch of wet fiber, and it was just kind of like eh. But when I
Yeah.
got this Covic, it presses all the fibers almost bone dry when it comes
Yeah. It
out.
takes it
You know
out.
what I'm saying? And then
Yep.
the juice will last longer and it
Yep.
tastes better. And so
Yep.
you're getting more out of it. So I'm kind of like, dang, when I was using the more inexpensive juicers, juice would last me about 4 days. Like that was
Mm.
just just what it was. With this one, I could probably get about 6 days. I can get
That's interesting,
depending
man.
on what I juice. If
Yeah.
it's if watermelon, I'll get about 5 days. I get
Okay.
about 5 days out of my watermelon. After that, I might as well add some carbonated water to it and call it whatever I'm
There you go and do what you gotta do to
call
it.
it
That's
whatever I'm
it.
getting.
Yeah.
Apple juice with celery, I usually can get about 7 days out of that. Like
Okay.
and then I learned to buy the glass juice containers
Yep.
with the plastic. It's so like with the whole my hop down the rabbit hole of juicing, I
Yeah, man.
learned it's more than just juice. It's like what you keep the juice
Oh,
in, the temperature that you're going to keep the juice at, and all that kind of stuff in
yeah.
order to, because I
That's
really
just
just like
vegetables.
I really just like the juice like every 5 days, 4 days, just
Okay.
because of the mess.
Okay.
That's
Yeah, man. Yeah,
you know.
bulk. Yeah, the bulk. That's what I mean. That's what I always tell people, man, like your freezer's like your best friend, man. A lot of times, man, people, especially as we get more and more into the whole growing thing, man, a lot of cats always be feeling like they freezers just aren't the like a viable place to store your food, man. It's your freezer, man. Yeah, go ahead and you make a gang of juice, man, a month worth, just put in your freezer. You know what
I
I'm saying?
knew a woman. I had a client, and she had a juice company, and I just always felt like she was cheating by freezing the juice, man. Just,
No, man, that's it's preservation. It's locking it in. You
all
cool,
right.
man. I mean, if you going there for the experience, okay. If you going up in there, you want you. I mean, technically, I mean, I wouldn't do it like that. If I had a, if I was, I had my business, I wasn't,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
giving.
yours was fresh juice. That was
Yeah, I was doing. That's why I was doing it right in front of you, man. Because it was like,
yeah.
nah, that's what. my pops taught me is like do it in front of them, man. It's like, yeah, ain't no
Man,
questions.
I was hooked.
Yeah,
I was hooked, man.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
that
They coming back, man. Yeah.
the experience of me seeing a brother juice, and it was you weren't making sweet juices. Like I said, I want to say it was wheatgrass or it was something that was like something
No,
that
we
was
had sweet
healthy.
ones. We had
Okay.
sweet. We had a couple. We had ones that, but the only sweetener we were using was apples, though, man. It was just like an apple, and we were getting everything from the market. So as you
Okay.
know, if I wasn't growing it myself, and then see a lot of that too. Okay, oh man, we about to be done. Um, a lot of that stuff too would be, um, just sweet on its own.
Uh-huh.
Like, man, see, I done got into. I was telling you, man, go there, play. So I was getting into, I done got the whole freeze dryer movement, man. And I started, freeze drying our zucchini out here, which was used to be the base to my drinks. Man,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, dude, this joint's like sugar, man. I'm like eating this joint like this is sweet as I don't know what, man. And then sometimes just eating zucchini, being like, these things are sweet. So a lot of the stuff we just had, man, out coming out even like our lettuce, man, it will be sweet. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Just coming up off the field, man, and just trying to get that to people. That was one of that's and still is like one of my most important things. That's why I try to bring as much stuff still living.
Okay.
I try to give you the freshest, and then too, like my pop said, is do it in front of them. But I always try to bring you the freshest thing, man. That shit. Yeah, they ain't no questions, man. It's just this what it is, you know. Yeah.
All right. So for years, you evolved from a smaller space and microgreens to now you got the ponderosa, multiple
Got the
ponderosas that you
got
got
double,
going
man.
on.
Yeah.
At what point did you decide to introduce Otis into the mix?
Oh man, shoot. Oh was always in the mix, man. In some way in the head, I've always had dogs. Yeah, I've always
So
had dogs.
it's funny
So
because I had a black lab, and
yeah,
when I saw Otis and he was a puppy,
yeah,
I don't
man.
know if you understood it, but because I've bred dogs forever, I know when
Yeah,
a dog is going to be a big dog. And I was
yeah,
like,
man.
hey, man, he got a project on his hands. You
He
know what
gonna
I'm
be
saying?
big. That's what I was looking for, man. I was looking for a big dog. But you know what? I look at I, I look at Otis now and I'm like, he ain't big. Cause see at the market, I be seeing cats walking through with like Saint Bernards, Barbles, man. Them are big dogs, Kind of Corsos, man, Them are
Yeah,
big dogs to me.
it's
And
a lot
so
of dog.
that's a lot of dog, man. So when I look at Otis, now I can see, why people react to him as being big. But I've always, I was a hunter, man. I grew up with hunting dogs, man. I had hunting dogs, um, which was right about that's oldest. I mean, labs, man. That's what
Okay.
they are. So, yeah, it wasn't. At
Well,
first, he was going to be a cur. That's what I was looking for was a cur, like Yeller.
oh,
And
okay.
then I ran up on Otis. Was like, oh, that's my dude, man. So let's go. So
Well,
yeah.
so the Conic Corsos, I had a cat who was an electrician, and
Okay.
he used to overbreed, like he would just breed them and have litters and just all that kind of stuff. And he
Yeah,
kind of
man.
tried to he would give them away, like with papers, everything. Like he had just gotten to the point of where he just had too many dogs. You know what
I
I'm
mean,
saying?
dog.
And
Yep.
so I had thought about it, but I was like, that's just too much dog for me. Like, so I went
A lot of food.
from I went from English bulldogs
Okay.
to boxers to English bulldogs, boxers, American bulldogs. I toyed with a Rottweiler, and then
Okay.
I've landed with the old English bulldogs. And the reason that I like those is because they have a American bulldog in them, they have pit in them, and they have English bulldog in them. And so
Okay.
they got the get up and go of a pit bull, but they're
Yeah.
bully like an English between an English and an American bulldog, but they're like a pocket American bulldog. Because I had big American bulldogs, like that was my thing
Okay.
when I had them.
Yeah.
But looking at these new dogs, these boar bells and all that kind of stuff, that's just too much dog. And I
Big
look at
dog.
it from a place of like responsibility. If you're gonna have
Yeah,
an
man.
animal that big, it has to be trained. You can't like it because
Yeah.
you know when a dog like that, if it's like a child, if it's
Yep.
not raised, it can just really get you into some trouble, man.
Yeah, man.
Like
Yeah, man.
something that just supersedes being a pet, something that
Hmm.
like
Real
I
quick.
would just Ving Rains, he had some Presa Canarios and
Oh,
at a
yeah,
house that
man.
he owned in Gardena, and those dogs got his handler, man.
Dang.
I mean, he was
See,
a rap.
man, see, man, yeah, man, you got to know what you're dealing with, man. Yeah, you gotta know what you're dealing with, man. Because even a lot of these cats that be coming out with they're not as popular. And I think people done learn their lessons low key with them. But the
Mm-hmm.
healer, that's a dope dog. That's a cool dog. And a lot of people is like, oh, it's a cool dog. By himself, he cool. You start putting two, three of them things together, they start acting like a pack. Because that's what they heard. But they will get back to that killer man, that killer type of herding too. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of stuff you gotta be knowing with these dogs, man. I mean. But that's why, because that man, I was seeing a gang of them in the market. I ain't seen so many now. But I mean, fads come and go with everything, man. You know.
Dude, I'll tell
So,
you, I'm gonna get to the last couple of questions, but I'm gonna tell you the wildest thing that I experienced while breeding dogs.
mhm.
The difference between American bulldogs and old English bulldogs, the size is the first thing, like half the size. Like American bulldogs are big. So when I would breed American bulldogs, I could have a female that was going in labor, her water would bust, and I'd go to the office. Like literally, I wasn't even tripping. Like I'd go to the office and come back
Yeah.
home, and I'd have 13 pups. You know what
The
I'm
pup
saying?
he's new. Yep.
Wouldn't have to do nothing. Now with the
Yep.
old English bulldogs, you
He
got to
says,
be there. Sometimes you got to bust a C-section on them, just like
that's
so
over
much
their
stuff.
heads,
But
man. Yep.
the craziest things, and I probably birthed about 14 litters in my life,
Okay.
about 14 litters. So the craziest thing that I ever experienced was with my American bulldog. Oya was about she was probably about 85 pounds, 85 to 90 pounds. She was a bigger dog, but she wasn't as huge as some of the males I've had, but she was a bigger dog. So she had a litter, and I had this gate that was chain link, and she knew how to take her nose and lift it up and come up to my front door. So I woke up one morning, and she had a litter of puppies. They were probably about like 4 days old, 5 days old, and she was scratching at my front door. So I was like, okay, let me go and let see what's going on with her, because she lifted up the gate and came over, whatever. So I go back there with her to look at the pups, and 6 puppies are missing. So I'm like,
Oh,
I'm
well.
just feeling bad. I'm like, fuck, man, am I a horrible breeder? Like, man, she done devoured the pups, because she wasn't a bad
Yeah.
mother. So I'm walking back to the house. So from my front door to back where my dogs are is about a 3-minute walk. So I'm walking
Okay.
back to the house, and I'm just kind of like, damn, I should have gave the puppy project more attention. But like I said, with
Right.
American Bulldogs, it's always just been easy to me. Like I've never had to give any type of extra care, no hard labors, no nothing. So I get to my front door and I'm feeling crazy. And when I go in the house, she scratches at the door. So I said, well, let me, man, she probably lost some puppies. Let me let her come in for a second or whatever, because the other pups were back on the heating pad in her house.
Yeah.
Dude, she threw up those 6 pups and they were live.
What?
He had
Yeah.
something probably had spooked her, and she swallowed them. And she threw
Yeah.
those pups up, and all of them lived.
That's wild, man.
That's my
Dang, that's
craziest.
wild, man.
That's my craziest breeding story, dude. That is my
Oh, okay.
craziest breeding
Okay.
story.
That's wild. Give me 1 second. Let me let him out real quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me go. I'll be right back. Don't stretch, man. We ain't going out. All right. Sorry about that, man. Yeah. That's wild, man. But that's just, that's nature, man. That's
That's
nature get down. Yeah, man.
what, since I got you, it ain't gonna be too much long. I just got 3 more questions, but I want to, because of your shirt, I just want to ask this question. I'm sure somebody might be interested. So what is or what is the G rated or PG rated version of what organic is?
Oh man, it's just certifications, man. It's just loops, man. Um,
Politics and certification.
Politics and certain. I mean, man. I mean, listen, man. I mean, it started off good, and you know what? To be honest with you, man, to be 100, it's the best thing that we got.
Okay.
Up- It's the best thing that you got right now. If you go into a lot of these, like your normal grocery stores or whatever,
What does it mean?
it normally means, man, that you will not have any kind of pesticides, for the most part. So no GMOs, everything is natural, if you
Okay.
will. But that's just, it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, that's why I've always kind of, gone back and forth with it, man. Labels to me, man, so.
Okay. So you don't pay money to be certified or and all that and whatever. So if you had to say the difference between your microgreen and a certified organic microgreen, two Ziploc baggies, one seeds of Xanadu, the other sprouts, the best they gonna give you, the best
Yeah.
they gonna give you. What would
Yeah.
be the difference between the two?
Flavor, man.
Okay.
The flavor, man. I'm gonna knock you out the park, man. I mean, especially them kind of cats like Sprouts in those things. And it's not that they didn't start off flavorful, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times you don't know how long they might have been sitting in the store. That's the one big thing about a lot of your grocery store microgreens, Sprouts, all those kinds of different things, is that you don't know how long they may have been there, right? And so a lot of times people will get put off by them because they'll be like, oh, they don't last that long. But it's like, nah, man, you don't know how long them was sitting on the shelf before you took them home. And then, of course, they made their demise when you got them there, like in a day or whatever, because you don't know, get back stretch. So yeah. So, that's the biggest things, man. When you start going to other people, to the stores with their stuff.
So uh my best cheat code, uh I'm sure you had about 98% to do with it, but get your greens, wash them, dry them, get all the moisture out of them. And if
Yeah.
you put them back in a plastic bag, get you some dry paper towels and put them in to absorb
Uh-huh.
any type. And dude, I can keep microgreens for about 5 days. You know what I'm
You can
saying?
you can
Like
get them. Yeah. Yeah, you can keep, and if you put them inside a Tupperware, man, them Jones will go even longer.
you said that.
Yeah, man. Tupperware. A glass one better. The glass.
I know for
That
the
glass makes
juice.
it older, huh?
I said I know for the juice,
Yeah.
glass
They
makes
do.
all the difference in the
Glass
world.
because glass it gets to like, so you get plastic, right? Plastic doesn't get to the same, um I want to say
Temperature.
the freeze point, but the temperature, right? So it's gonna hold in that coldness. It's like a refrigerator inside a refrigerator, if you will. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It's gonna hold it in way more than just the plastic. So the plastic's gonna let a lot of that cold out. Unless you get those green bags, though. I've heard a lot about those. I haven't used them.
I haven't used them
I
either.
got customers that swear by that. They like, man, the green bags keep them right. I'm like, all right, man.
Shame on
There we
me.
go.
I bought some and never used them. I couldn't even tell you where they are, man.
And
Me
you
just
see what okay.
thinking I'm gonna buy
That's
my
what they
way into
say,
health.
man.
That don't work, you know.
Yeah, they be on them. But man, like I said, I always got, I mean, really, real spit, man. I have a garden, man. So that's kind of been where I keep most of my stuff. But then when I do, yeah, I normally be honest with you, I just use my garden. I might harvest stuff here and there for dinner and might have a little bit too much and then throw that in the refrigerator real quick. But yeah, I don't really even use it like that no more.
What's the best advice anybody's ever given you?
Best advice anybody's ever given me, man? Dang, just off the top. It's always gonna have to just be with don't listen to what people say.
Yeah,
Just, yeah, simple and plain, man. Get after your shit. You know what I mean? Just yeah, don't
and
listen.
with that, that's a conversation me and Brown have all the time. Most things, in theory, seem like they're very simple, man. In
Hmm.
theory, if you're just going by theory,
Yeah.
But when it
Yeah.
comes to application, it's just a whole other
That's the
beast, man.
thing. Yeah, man. It's what they call it easy. It's simple, not easy. You know what I'm saying? You can sit here and talk to people about it, all day.
Yeah.
Um, but kind of going into and then man, shit, man, the application, man, I mean, honestly, dude, like I feel to a certain degree, it's not that it's like, okay, so with being gardening, it's not that it's hard, right? But it's not that I don't work hard. It's just that this is what I do. It's part of me. So I'm gonna be out there, you know what I mean? Anyway, so yeah, man, that's just what I'm gonna be doing. So it's just life in a way. It's I'm getting something from it. And I feel as though as long as you getting something from it, currency come in all different ways, man. And as long as you getting some currency that's gonna fill your soul, man. I mean, shit. That's one. The money is a byproduct. Money really is the byproduct. Money just come. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's just that. So for me, it's always been like I said, like my mom's taught, trying to instill in me. Don't get me wrong, I've had my slew of just bad jobs, but thank God I had them jobs because it showed me the jobs I'm supposed to be in. You know what I mean? It kind of let me point like, nah, I ain't about working for y'all. Not that that's bad for anybody else, but for me, nah,
You know
I
what?
got to do this.
That's interesting. So I got into the office early today, but I woke up really early. I wake up early in the morning. So I woke up really early. I got into the office and on Tuesdays, I have the podcast. So I like to get home, like to eat a cool little dinner, like to chill out, get my head right, whoop, whoop. And
Yep.
so my life coach, so the losing weight part for me was a combination of you and my life coach. It was like
Okay.
a combination of like getting me together. And so my life coach hit me up and he's doing an edible sweet cannabis brand. And so he's got
Okay.
a photo shoot tomorrow. So he hit me up at about 5:30 or so, and I was at the office. He's like, "Man, I got this photo shoot tomorrow. You wouldn't be able to do some labels to make my packaging look cool enough for this photo shoot that I got tomorrow." So I'm sitting there yawning. I'm talking to him, his wife. I'm not like my graphic designer had got all the art where it needed to be. And I was sitting there and I was clicking on my mouse and I was like, man, I just want to go home, man. And I'm yawning, and while I'm on the phone with him and his wife, they're changing stuff in real time, and I'm sending them pictures. And so I was like, you know what? This dude has helped me in ways that supersede monetary compensation. And I'm
Right.
saying this because it goes in line with what you're saying, which at the end of my story, it'll equal passion. So when you're
Hmm.
passionate about something, you don't get tired. And if you're tired, you'll wake back up. You like I said, like a Christian on fire. How people say Christians
Yeah,
are on
man.
fire for Jesus with it. Like you get that second win. So I didn't want to be there, and I was like, man, I'm gonna do it. And then I was like, well, you know what, dude? I'm blessed to have the equipment to do stickers and labels and have
Right.
the cutters and all that stuff right there. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna bust these stickers out for him when he get here. If it work, it work. And it don't. And then I'm just like, dang, I just wanted to eat and chill before I do the podcast. I gotta wait for him to get here. Got to get in the. So he comes. I go out to the car. He gives me the package, and the label application to the bags, it went way easier. Like man, it was easier than anything I've done in a very
Yeah.
long time. Like I thought I was gonna have to come in my house and trim and do all this kind of stuff, but I pulled it off in like 2 minutes outside while I was just talking to him through my gate. Woo woo.
Yep.
So I say that to you to say it's crazy how when you're passionate about something, it's not work.
Yeah,
You
it's
know
not
what I'm saying?
working.
I actually, when I think about my printing equipment and all that stuff and being able to be creative outside of the business part, I literally got to tell myself to come home from the office and to tell myself
Yeah,
not to
man.
go in so early and like, dude, you got to chill out a little bit and
Yeah,
whatever.
man.
But
Yep.
but I say that because I feel like you can identify with the same thing, which is when you're passionate about something.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's
That's
it's
that's
no
that's
it's not work.
nah. It ain't work, man. That people still to this day, man, they trip because I don't go out. I don't. That's not what I do, man. Like my literally, man, my fun is like working, if quote unquote, if you're going to call it work, man, being in gardens, figuring out new things to do in my garden, new businesses, things of that nature, man. That's fun to me, man. You know, that's where I get most of my dope, I guess, dopamine dumps are happen to be in my garden. Like one of my good friends, man, he broke it down to me. It's like, see, it's not so much about chasing um like this money and this and that, man. It's about fulfilling your lifestyle, man. So you want to get a job that fulfills your lifestyle. So I don't work, man. I'm just going into a garden, man. That's literally what I'm doing. Like my work today, like if you want to call it work, man, I water microgreens.
Hmm.
You know, that's how, that's what I went and did today. I mean, in terms of work, that took me all of what, shit, about 5, 10 minutes, maybe half an hour. I was out there just kind of chilling, just singing my song. And then next thing I know, I'm just out there doing, the other things where we are expanding on, playing with that now. Because it's all about following your greatest excitement, man. Follow that shit. So many people I think people are just afraid to do it. And I think that's unfortunate, man. But, you probably like you, man. I know myself, when I learned how to swim, I jumped in the deep end. That's just how I was, man. I was just like, again, it's like I ain't gonna drown, I mean, I don't know, man. I'll be off, I guess, man. I'm just like, I'm not gonna drown, I mean, so, I'm just gonna go, I'll figure it out. And that's just kind of how it is. And so I just kind of follow my excitement, man. And in my last 20 minutes, in my last 20 years, man, who knows? But it gets me to the next thing. Yeah.
Advice to your past self.
Advice to my past self, man. Shit, it's a kind of combination of both of those two things, man. Is shit, you already know. And just follow him. You know what I mean? Be 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 your number one star. Be your valedictorian. Be the one that that if they said there's five of y'all that's gonna be valedictorian in high school, right?
Hmm.
Because going to young self. There's five of y'all that's gonna be valedictorian. And even though, I mean, me back then I didn't really give a damn about school
Me
like
either.
that. Yo, the be that number one in what it is that you want to do. You're going to be the one that they're going to pick. They're going to call you. You know what I'm saying? Whatever that is,
Yep.
you call. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what it is.
All right, I'm gonna hit you with the last one. If you could have a biopic, what would be the title?
A biopic, man. Dang. Just the title of that junk? That be, man. That's him. Straight up. That's him, man. That's him. Hell yeah. Oh shit, you dipped on me. Hold on. I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry about that.
There you
I
go.
think
Yeah.
I cleared my throat. Nah. So I'm gonna definitely have to bring you back because we talked about a whole bunch of stuff, but we didn't even crack the egg on the whole freeze drying. That's a whole nother conversation,
Another
and
thing,
that's one of
man.
the ones I was blessed to have you. One of our conversations at the farmers market that we had, and getting into the whole freeze drying. So if somebody wanted to come and check you for microgreens on the weekends, where can they find you?
I mean, you guys always find me in Cerritos Saturdays from I normally get there about 8 to about 12 o'clock. That's Cerritos on Saturdays. And then also Thursdays too, Long Beach, man. Start with that one. That's on 4th and Cherry. That's
Okay.
Thursdays. That's from 8 to 12. That's a newer market. And then Sunday at the Long Beach Marina, man. That's from 8 to 2. Yeah. I know
Yep.
you can come and catch me up out there from 8 to 2, man. Yeah.
That's the one that got me spoiled. And that's why I'm hitting
Yeah,
you up.
man.
I'm usually hitting you up at about 11:55 and asking you, is anybody good in Cerritos? Are they still there? Should I stop by?
Yeah, man. The early ones is tough. We like them, man. A lot of people like the early ones, but they can be tough, man. I see cats coming in all the time, man. Like, dang. I'm like, yeah, this one closed early, man. This one
Yeah,
is
man.
early. That's the early
And
bird.
then Long Beach, I've hit Long Beach at about 12:30 and 1 o'clock and still been somewhat successful. But the
Yeah.
one thing that I've learned, if you're gonna do your farmers market thing, earlier is better because you get the first crack at it. And
Yeah,
then
get first crack.
I'll tell you this one because we from Mississippi, man. We smoke meat and tell stories. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
That's our thing. But the funniest moment I ever had at the Long Beach farmers market was when COVID jumped off, and then people were kind of scared to go to stores and all that kind of stuff. And see, my cheat code was always to get my produce from the farmers market. But when
Yeah.
COVID jumped off, you get all these people that never thought about going to it, became trendy. So you
Yeah.
got whatever. And so I saw
That
this
was fun.
dude, and he was in shorts and flip-flops, and he couldn't take it no more. And it was all these like hipsters and trendy people. It was from where you kind of move around the farmers market to where it was just inundated with so many
Right.
people. And homeboy couldn't hold it in, and he said, "Hey man, I don't flood your market and don't flood mine, man." You know what I'm saying? He just had too much, man. He's like, "Man, I don't go and I don't who bang on your market, man. Let us have our market, man."
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. There's a lot of cats out there, man. Yeah, that was a funny time, man. That was a
Yes,
funny
sir.
time. Man. Yeah,
Yes,
it's fun.
sir. And
Yeah.
what are your socials?
On social, yeah, man. Caesar Zandu pretty much on everything, man. TikTok, a little bit of Instagram nowadays. You still catch some stuff, and then of course YouTube, man. Yeah.
So you know what? You kill it on the YouTube. That's what I really didn't like. That was the gift that keeps on giving, where I can kind of go and like I said, when you got those people lined up and the conversations is going, and I'm kind of feeling like, well, man, I'm Greg, man. I gotta. Like, hey, man, he's getting his bread and he's sharing with others.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
where can they go to get their YouTube Caesar Xanadu? Is it
Yeah.
still the same spelling? Caesar
Same
Xanadu?
thing, yeah, man. XANXADU, man. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. That's pretty much everywhere, man. You catch me there. Yeah, catch me there, man. Starting to play
Tight.
with some stuff too, but we ain't got names for them yet. But yeah, you go there. I'm sure I'll put a name out there soon.
Nah, and matter of fact, with this being said, I'm gonna revisit something that the embryo was a conversation we probably had about 6, 7 years ago. We gotta tie
Okay.
Caesar Xanadu up with Farside TV in a in,
Yeah,
in,
man.
in a bigger way. Because like I said, man, you one of my shamans, man. You helped me shed
Appreciate you,
that
man.
you helped me shed it. You didn't kick the knowledge in like your way was kind of like you can do what you want to do, but you just need to do it a certain way, which that
Yeah,
was kind of what I needed to hear because I knew that I had just gained so much weight and I was kind of feeling like and
yeah.
yeah, you kind of you came with the conversation as well as the nutrients. So with that being said, I appreciate you, Mr. Gay.
And
Say what's
salute you,
up to
man.
OG Otis for me and his
Hey.
feline partner. You know,
Oh, Stretch, man. I don't know. Stretch was over here a minute ago, man. Chasing them
yeah.
something. I don't know what he's doing. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir. So now, with that being said, this has been another episode of Splendid Radio on Farside TV. Peace.
All right, y'all. Big up.